physically, but I think pandemic has made this thing good कि we can meet each other virtually at least.
That's correct, sir. That's correct. Absolutely delighted to be here.
Yeah. चलो, we would like कि आप contact में रहें हमारे, है ना? So
Yeah.
even we feel good कि हमारे जो students हैं they reach to top positions and come back to the college.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure always. As in, we've had a couple of events in the past and I've attended. And
Right,
yeah,
right, right.
is post this, I'm sure the college will keep doing those events, and we'll love to attend those events.
Okay, thank you, Dheeraj.
Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, please do.
Good
Sure.
morning,
All right.
Good morning, respected principal, sir, our guest speaker, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, sir, teachers, and all the people who are present here to attend this event. I am Niharika Gupta, Secretary of Bodhini, Academic Events and Research Committee of ANDC.
And I am Aman Abbas, Student Coordinator.
On behalf of Bodhini, Acharya Narendradev College, we welcome you all in today's event.
Now, here are some of the instructions to be followed throughout the event. Kindly keep your mics and videos off during the entire event. If you have any query or question, please post the same in the chat box. Do fill the feedback form, the link of which will be provided in the chat box at the end of the webinar, as you will get the e-certificate only after filling that form.
First, we would like to congratulate all the newly elected members of Bodhini. We are presenting a video to welcome them in our family. Our sincere thanks and best wishes to all of them. Aman, don't you think that meeting our alumni and listening from them on various issues is a great idea?
Wow, that is awesome indeed. No doubt, they are a great source of insightful knowledge and valuable experience. Moreover, they are an integral part of our college and the university as well.
So how about starting a series of events where we invite them for such fruitful and productive discussions?
Yes, that will be really helpful for many of us, as it will serve as a great opportunity to learn and explore new things.
So here we present to you all a fresh series of events named as In Conversation with Our Alumni. ANDC has a soaring alumni and it goes back to 1994 till now.
And the topic with which we are commencing the series is Early Investments, Secured Future. And our guest speaker for this is Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, alumni of 1996 batch and currently working as Senior Director of Operations at Paisabazaar.
Now we would like to call our respected principal, Sir Dr. Ravi Tuteja, to share a few words with us and to unveil the newly designed brochure of our Commerce Department made by Team Bodhini.
So you're on mute.
Your mic is turned off.
Sorry. Very warm good morning to all of you, dear participants, students, my fellow colleagues, faculty members, and obviously Mr. Dheeraj Kalra. First of all, let me congratulate Commerce Department for initiating this series of lectures under Bodhini. It's a very good step that Commerce Department has taken, and to start this Bodhini is also a very good step, and under that to hold alumni lectures is really very nice. Dr. Surinder and Ms. Sangeeta Relan, they are the main source behind organizing these lectures under Bodhini, and obviously Dr. Shalu Mahajan is the who is the teacher in charge of the Commerce Department, and it's a very good step, and definitely students are going to gain insight of the latest things happening around the world. And once again, congratulate and my best wishes to Bodhini and Commerce Department. And thank you, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, for sparing your valuable time and coming to the college. And hope that we will be in touch with you in future also. And definitely, we will be organizing more such series, not only in the Commerce Department, but in the college. So welcome you all and thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity and the much needed support.
Now, we will hand it over to Dr. Surinder Kaur ma'am, the convener of Bodhini, who will be introducing us to our today's guest speaker, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra.
A very good morning to all of you present here. Respected Principal Sir, my dear colleagues, dear students, and above all, our distinguished speaker of the day, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, our alumni batch 1996, presently Senior Director Operations Paisabazaar. Dheeraj, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you as our first speaker on this auspicious occasion of starting a series of talks under the banner In Conversation with Our Alumni on the topic Early Investment, Secured Future. I'm sure our students will be learning a lot of things from you. See, it's a special day today as we are opening up an opportunity for our present students to meet their seniors and get benefited from their knowledge and pool of experience. In fact, I really appreciate this idea of informal talks with our alumni, which will create a special bonding between the present students and the students who have secured and established themselves in the big outside world. Welcome, Dheeraj, to the very first session of our series, and I feel deeply honored today, as well as nostalgic of getting the privilege of welcoming you here. It's been so many years. A long time has passed. I still remember my first batch in this college, batch of 1995-96. I joined here in 1995, and you were one of the first batch students of mine. And this event has brought back many memories of past time. Nearly 3 decades have passed. That was a very struggling time for the college. College was new. We were also new. And I still remember my students working really hard to achieve their goals, worried about their careers, aspiring higher, and so many things. But a long time has passed. Our students have established themselves. They have brought glory to the college. And because of our dedicated students, because of students like you, Dheeraj, this college has also scaled new highs. Your college is accredited with NAAC A-star rating with a score of 3.31. Dheeraj Kalra, our alumni batch 1996, completed his PGDVM from APJ School of Marketing after completing graduation from this college, and then started his career as a management trainee at Asahi Glass, where he learned how to manage large accounts. I'm really happy that you followed accounting as a profession. That's really inspiring for me as a teacher also. He then completed 1-year management program from IIM Calcutta in 2001. And throughout your 22 years long corporate career, you have been associated with BFSI industry, having done many stints at various organizations of repute like Kotak Mahindra, Aviva, and you also did an entrepreneurial venture in the insurance broking space. Presently, Dheeraj is working as Senior Director Operations in Paisabazaar. Dheeraj, it's really heartening to welcome you here and to see that you are successfully managing your career and your family life. You are having a perfect work-life balance. And as you explained, as you told, that you are pursuing your passion of staying fit and you also play field hockey. That's really very interesting to know a lot more about your personality. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to come here and virtually, of course, right now, and listen to you. We are very proud of you. We are very proud of our students like you. In fact, I would like to praise the multiple roles played by you and appreciate the support that you have given to your alma mater by coming here, by giving a lecture talk on this. I hope this event will be more of an informal kind, Dheeraj, and I hope our students are able to connect with you. So welcome, Dheeraj. Stage is all yours. So please come and connect. Thank you.
Before that, ma'am, may I request our principal sir to unveil the brochure?
And invite
Sure.
alumni
Sure.
to tell alumni also. है ना?
Yes, yes.
Principal sir.
Yeah. So Principal Sir and Dheeraj, please unveil the brochure.
Yes, sir, please.
Please, what we have to do?
Let me just tell you, it has been managed and made by our commerce students only, and wholeheartedly they have been working hard for this. I mean, I remember they used to pass on the drafts at 2 a.m. in the night. So that was the kind of dedication and the hard work they have put in.
Chalo, great, great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good work.
And we'll put this soon, we'll put this on our or update our website. Commerce
Sure,
department
sure. It has to be. Right. Chalo, good work. Good work, Commerce Department.
Thank you so much, sir.
Well done, students. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Now may I invite our guest speaker, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra. Sir, the stage is all yours now.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much, ma'am, for the very warm welcome.
Thank
I
you,
think
Dheeraj.
I am very nostalgic right now because it's amazing to come on this platform, have 90 people plus on this webinar. My students, fellow students who are here, and all the teachers who most of you were there. In fact, in 1993 also, when I really came to the college, and passed out in 1996. And it's really nice to be here and have the opportunity to connect again. That's the least I think we can do as an alumni. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here and kind of share my views on the topic of today. Before I start, I think I would like to mention that my college stint with ANDC, I think I clearly remember that we had all our professors who were less professors but more like mentors and friends, because we had a bunch of very young, very passionate professors who loved teaching and who loved to take their sessions and try and bring forward the concept that they had to give to the students. I think in those times also, I enjoyed attending my lectures, and as a result, I remember most of my kind of friends in the class. We did well in our exams also, and therefore went ahead. And I would say the college prepared us to face the big bad world out there. So thank you very much for your passion, for your contribution in our lives, and for giving us that knowledge, in those 3 years of the college. So thank you very much. Today's topic, investing early to prepare for a secured future, is something which is close to my heart. And this is more for the students I would like to now, address to. Guys, it's not about which industry you work with as you clear your college, maybe go ahead and do your post-graduation, or start working. Each one will have a different career. But wherever you work, whichever industry you work, I think investing early, investing right, and thinking about your future from a more financial standpoint is more like a life skill. You have to have that, because if you plan yourself well, it's the only way to really lead a secure life. We do need money in life, right, to live a good life. So therefore, it's good to plan in advance and go accordingly. So yes, for me, it came naturally because I worked in the BFSI industry. I worked with banks, I worked with insurance companies, mostly selling or dealing with products which were financial in nature, and therefore that helped me to connect with this entire philosophy faster. But then, like I said, it doesn't matter which industry you work with. You work with cement industry, you work with an ad agency, or you work with a hotel. I think this particular thing you have to have a knack of, because that will only help you to organize your money better, to have your objectives very clear in life, and actually to achieve your objectives, because most objectives do require money to fulfill. So that's where I would like to start off. The presentation, or the few slides that I've created just to give a structure to the entire discussion, just 4 or 5 slides I have just to give a structure. But most of the conversation will be around my personal experiences over the last 20 years plus in the corporate world, and how I have tried to manage my finances. And when I look at those rules that most of the financial gurus really talk about, I think all those are correct, because when you go through it, then only you can understand that why investing early is making sense as a concept, and some other pointers which are there in my presentation, which I'll talk about, that all makes sense. And so when I say that, understand that this is 20 years of investing experience talking about them, and therefore they make sense. So it's not really a bookish talk I want to deliver today, but it's more about my experiences. So I'm going to present a slide so that you can just be going in a certain flow. That's the whole objective. I hope you can see this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's start right away. And like I said, you can, if you want. I don't know what is the way we are taking on the questions. If it is about you writing those questions or queries online, then go ahead and do that. In case you have something pressing and you want to come in the middle of the discussion and talk about it, more than happy to do that too. So it's a free-flowing discussion. More interaction we do, it's better for all of us. So let's start with something about the benefits of early investing, benefits of starting early, as they say. Well, the first and foremost point around this is the power of compounding returns. If you make your money stay invested for a longer period of time, it generates more and more return. It's something that we've heard many times. I'll try and substantiate that with a small story. Like I said, I'm going to keep sharing my personal examples as that will probably help you connect more. So I started working in 1998, some 22 years back. Seems like a lifetime. So when I went to my first job, somebody in finance did tell me that, this is your first job. Yeah. He said, why don't you open your PPF account? And I said, what is that? He said, there's something that this post office, provide this scheme, Public Provident Fund. Go ahead and open your account. It'll help you save some taxes. I said, okay, but and my salary was 7,000 rupees then. And I said, but I don't have much money. How do you open this account? He said, go ahead, open it with 100 rupees. And that's where I opened my first, kind of investment account PPF with 100 rupees. And he said, you have the flexibility to invest money every month. And you can do that. So I probably in the first year, financial year, I would have invested what, 1,000, 2,000 rupees in that, followed by maybe 10,000 rupees in substantial, further years. The point I'm trying to make is that over the last decade or so, I invest the money that the government tells me to invest to save taxes, which is right now, let's say, $1.5 lakh. But the point is that over the last 20 years, right, the money in that account is substantial enough to give me a decent return, which is a tax-free return. While that 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees in 1998 or 10,000 rupees in 1999 did not make any difference, and the interest it earned even at that time. But today it is a decent amount, that I get as an interest on that savings, and which is tax-free in nature. So this has only been possible because I started early. And because of that, over the last 20 years, that amount accumulated over a number of years, and that's the result that today I get a decent interest on that. So therefore, please understand that you cannot generate the money if you start late. What you can do in 30 years' time with lesser money is far more. As compared to what you can do in 5 years' time with maybe larger amount of money, because of the number of years you are making your money work. So that's very important, and that's one of the key benefits or the main benefit of starting early to invest. And like I said, there is no age. That was my first job. It was a very, very the starting salary at that time was all right, but I'm just saying for those times also it was not a very, very handsome salary, and therefore starting with 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees sounds like a joke, but then that's where I started off. Second point, and a very, very important point, is when you start investing early, apart from obviously giving you access to money which you save, you also get very disciplined spending habits. With what I mean with this is that you get to understand the importance of money. You get to understand how money earns interest and how money gives returns, and therefore you value the money more. I've got friends who obviously invest very, very well and a very decent portion of their income. I also have friends, over the years who never started early, and they're finding it more and more difficult now to kind of start investing because that habit never got developed. And as we get old, starting something new gets more and more difficult, as you all know. A 4-year-old kid can learn how to swim much faster than I will learn. And by the way, I don't know how to swim, so that's the challenge I have. So, but I see young kids at 6-7 years old who swim very, very well, and I still struggle to swim well. So that's the same principle applies here also. If you start early, then you get very good spending habits. People who don't start early, who don't invest money, typically struggle with their finances. It's very easy to overspend at times because you don't know where to draw the line. You don't know how much budget you have to spend in a certain month and how much you should be investing. All those habits come when you start to invest early. I've got friends who typically will overrun a credit card bill, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but then credit card companies or banks charge very high interest on that. Whereas in the last 20 years as a rule, because when I started investing, I knew that the banks really charge 36%, 40% interest if you don't pay on time the card bills. And therefore, last 22 years, I haven't delayed my card payment ever, because that's just a stupid thing to do. So coming back to the point that disciplined spending habits, giving you a boundary line on how much you should be spending in a month based on your earnings, how much you should be investing, what will this investment yield over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, is all the discipline you get when you start to invest early, therefore go deeper into the investments and start to read and understand how the money works. Third point, again, try and understand that all of us at different stages of life have a different kind of risk profile. When I say risk profile, what sort of investments that we feel are safe and what sort of investment that we want to invest in. Typically, you have investments, they can either be, more like a debt investments, which means that you get a certain almost fixed return, from the instrument. and they can be investments which are investing in the equity markets. It can be equity mutual funds or direct equities, which invest in shares of the companies. Obviously, the equity markets, while giving good returns in the long run, are more volatile. I won't say riskier, but are more volatile over a period of time. But it is also said that anybody who is young should be investing more and more in equity market, because that's where you get more returns, more risk, more return. So if you start early, when you're 24, 23, 25, whatever that age is, your appetite for a higher risk is far higher, right? Because most of you won't have responsibility at that time. Most of you won't be married, no responsibility of the family, hopefully, so that's where you can take more chances with your money. You can make it grow better by investing in equity markets. And therefore, this risk profile can be aggressive as compared to somebody who starts investing, let's say, at the age of 35. And he's lost those 10, 12 years initially. He probably at 35 is a married man, has a kid or two, and therefore more responsibilities on him. And therefore he'll think twice before he puts all his money into the equity market, thinking that what if it goes down, like what happened in COVID. What if it goes down and I need the money, my 100 rupees will become 50 rupees. All those kind of thoughts come to mind. And therefore starting early gives you those wings to really go out and really take a larger share of the equity markets in your portfolio. So that's the other advantage. And lastly, I think it just organizes your life. You should, when you start working, you should list down the objective. In fact, right now, when you start working, you should list down your objectives in life, what you want to do in life. And when do you think that will actually happen? What are the timings of those things? At your age, and some of these things I'm saying, I did not do all of them, but I wish I could, I could have done. But some of these things at your age, of course, will be like, you want to travel the world. It can be, you want to explore a certain place. You want to buy something for yourself. You want to buy a car. It can be anything for that matter. And these objectives keep changing. Somebody who's probably 45, let's say, who's got a son or a daughter of 20, maybe he would want to marry their son and daughter, and or more than that. If somebody has got a children in 10th or 12th class, they'll say that I need to send them for a graduation course in a different college which will cost this much. So all people have got different objectives at different stages of life. But when you start investing early, you get that certain pool of funds with you, which help you achieve your objectives in life. And like I said, they keep changing. They can be anything. So you should have your top 3 objectives listed down, saying that this is what I want to do in life over the next 5 years. This is the sort of money I'll need to achieve these objectives. And that's how I'm going to save my money to achieve them. So I think lots of benefits. It really organizes your life and help you achieve your dreams in more ways than one can think of. I wanted to also talk about, and I've heard a lot from especially the friends of mine I was talking about, the friends of mine who really haven't invested early in their life, and now they struggle to really start this habit. That that there are reasons people have that why I don't invest or why I haven't invested. I have people telling me that, oh no, you are fortunate, you have money. Sometimes they say that. I don't understand why do they say that. I'm a self-made man who started working 22 years back and haven't taken a break of a single day. So how does that concept of somebody being fortunate or not fortunate comes? I think it's when somebody invests early and when somebody thinks of doing this thing early, it's absolutely their discipline that they do that with. It's not, and like I said, it's not really about the amount of money, it's about just starting that practice based on your income, your income and your the money that you get every month. So starting with the first myth, which is very, very common, and people say that I don't have enough to invest. So there's no money, what do I invest? Well, that's not true. And since all of us do something for a living, we all work, we all do something, right? If we all do something, then we all get some money for that something that we do. And therefore, there is always money to invest. That can be small in amount, that can be large in amount, but we have to decide that what that amount will be. Typically 30-40% of your salary. If you can, 30%, it's a very good percentage to invest. And that's a discipline everybody should follow. So, and secondly, people do feel at times that, let's talk about 1998 in my case. Having a 7,000 rupee salary at that time, like I said, it was not a lot of money. It was decent. You can just make two ends meet and afford a two-wheeler. But still, you can start. I could have always taken out 1,000 rupees out of that 7,000. That's what I did, and started investing. So therefore, anything more than zero is good. So don't think it's not enough. What will 500 rupees a month will do, or what will 1,000 rupees a month will do? No, they will do a lot, because they'll get you in the habit of investing. And guess what? In a year or two, you won't even know when that 7,000 becomes 70,000 salary, and when that 1,000 rupee per month becomes 20,000 rupees. So just start early. That's the whole point. Start early. So there's always money to invest. Don't say I don't have money to invest when you're working. Then people say, people especially who don't work in the BFSI segment, they say, I don't have enough knowledge. You are in bank, you are in insurance company, you understand how this thing works. I just don't know how it works. My finance guys tell me something at the end of the year. That's what I do. You must read some. One is, it's not rocket science. It's not too much knowledge that you need. You don't have to understand capital markets. You don't have to understand how stock market works. If you do, that's great. But if you don't, that's also, it's okay, because the instruments today especially are so simple to understand, so simple to execute. Everything is online. We are doing this session online, so everybody understands how a smartphone works. And that's what all you need to really invest in most of the things. The view of the portfolio that you get is absolutely amazing and brilliant, and so simple to see. So I'm just saying that there's not much knowledge you need to invest in post office schemes, or in provident fund of your company, or in mutual funds. They're just absolutely simple to invest. Even if you walk into a bank, your bank branch, they will exactly tell you how to do that. And just choose any top 3 equity schemes and you're good to go. You don't have to do too much research or understand too many numbers. No, just start with any 3 schemes. Let's say if you want to invest 3,000 rupees, just pick 3 schemes, 1,000 rupees each per month. Go ahead. So that's why. So I think there's not much knowledge required. That's one, to do this. And so long as you're disciplined and keen to invest, you have those opportunities available in front of you. You have the the online processes available. You have enough and more companies who are selling this available, and there's a lot of transparency in the market, so nothing to worry at all. The other thing that I keep hearing is, no, I don't invest in equity market because they're very risky, right? And to them, we have to understand that the only way to earn a decent return of, let's say, 8 to 14% over a long term is the equity markets. The interest rates globally have gone down, and in India too, they're following the same trajectory, right? Remember, or ask your parents if you don't remember, because I keep forgetting that you are really young, but you ask your parent what was the FD interest rate 20 years back, 10 years back. It was probably 12%, 11%, 10%. Today, you get FD, fixed deposits in bank, interest rate at 5%. Right. So who can earn a decent money getting a return of 5% on the bank FDs? So try and avoid those kind of instruments, because you can keep some money there for your rainy days, for your emergencies, but that can't be a strategy for you to really create wealth. That I will make so many FDs that I'll get lots of return. And my next point on this slide, concept of real rate of return, is connected with that. Now we all know that we have inflation, which keeps, there is an inflation, the prices of everything keeps going up every year. And we're saying if the inflation is at 5% and your bank FD rates are 4%, for example, then literally your money is losing. You're losing money instead of gaining, because the rate at which the prices of the goods are rising, which is at 5%, is more than the return you're getting on your money. So literally your money is disappearing and you're not really getting the money. So real rate of return is actually the return that you get over and above the inflation in the market, right? So for you to make a meaningful return and for you to create wealth, you should be earning an interest or an income which is higher than the inflation in the market, right? And that's where the equity markets or the capital markets come to the rescue, where and this is not I'm talking about a year data or 5 years data. Obviously you can go online and check out the last 25 years data, right? And the stock markets would have taken their cycles, but then they all come back, they all bounce back, giving an overall return of 8 to 14% in the long term. And this is somebody talking who's been investing. I would be investing in the mutual funds since the last, let's say, 18 years or so, So yes, they do give a very decent returns. You just have to be patient. You just have to have patience, and you cannot be in a rush to pull out your money. If that is the case, then equity markets give a very, very stable returns over the long term. And it's absolutely critical for the students on this call, especially since you're young and you'll be starting your career soon, that you take a huge exposure on the equity markets through equity mutual funds, most likely, and try and create your wealth, because that's the only way to do it. I feel so. And therefore think long term, start small, and you will see your money growing over a period of time. Yeah. Coming on to some common mistakes that we do, and I've done all of them, so I'm going to talk about them. Not diversifying to reduce risk. So, invest to karna hai, we should invest early, that's fine. But where do we invest? Invest kahan karna hai, it's very, very important. And therefore, not diversifying, which means not choosing different instruments to invest your money, doesn't really help, because markets move in certain directions. In those directions can be good for some instruments, may not be good for some instruments, and therefore it's important that you're invested in different instruments all the time, and so that you get the benefit of the market when really some things go up, and the loss is not so much, because if some things go down, because you don't have all your money in the same basket, not all eggs in the same basket. So diversifying to reduce risk is absolutely crucial, and therefore you have to see that you have some amount of money, in fixed income or debt fund. Like I said, for the younger students on this call, it can be very small component, but that has to be there. It should be there. So you have to have some money into the provident funds, EPF, into PPF and things like that. You should have most of the money in mutual funds, for example, right? And there's another asset class that we have, which one has to be really careful at times about, is the real estate. So all of us are, or we've seen our parents being very, very clear that let's buy a house and let's invest in real estate. So real estate was working very well for India, I think, since the time immemorial, since we've seen. And the price of the homes were always going up. That's what we knew about. But over the last 7-8 years, we've seen that, or 5 years plus, we've seen that price of the homes also can come down, right? And they can come down like how? That cycle can take a long time to really correct. So we've seen the prices of the real estate going down, and people have lost money there. And I personally know a lot of people who had their portfolios, when I say portfolio, who had their all investments all in real estate. So somebody who's done well in life and earns very well, he probably had 4 houses, right? And he put all his money into it, thinking that that's the best investment to make. Because like I said, we've always seen the prices of real estate going up. You buy something today worth 20 lakh rupees a house, it becomes 40 lakhs, it becomes 60 lakhs over the 10, 15 years time. So that's what we've seen, from the time of our parents and, our own homes and everything. And therefore that just seems like the right choice. But the way the prices crashed, over the last 7-8 years, I would say, and they've been corrected now to a great extent. A lot of people have lost a lot of money, and therefore it brings us, and this is for real estate, can happen for others also. So therefore it brings us to the point that we should be diversifying. We should be using different asset classes to invest money and not just one area to invest a lot of money. Real estate, I took that example because typically homes are expensive, and as and when somebody buys a home, most of the investments are liquidated to buy that home. And therefore it's important that one is careful about it, that what he's buying do you want to live in that home, or is just buying for investment? If that is the case, then you can't have all eggs in the same basket. You can't have all your money, all your investments diluted or liquidated to buy that particular piece of land or an apartment. You have to be careful with that. And that's also connecting with one of the points I mentioned on this slide, which is more about emotions-led investment decisions. That one gets emotional at times. I need to buy a flat. I need to buy the same flat, while I know this price is overpriced, and maybe I don't have the wherewithal to buy it. But still, people stretch themselves and do that. Still, people will dilute their equity investments, which are very, very good investments over the long term. They will liquidate them to really buy that apartment. So one should be dispassionate while making investments. One should not be emotional while making investments or while holding them. One should know when to sell, when to buy, and therefore, because that's the only rational way to create wealth. So no emotions should come in between when you're managing your money and when you're trying to really generate those returns from that money. For example, I know for sure somebody who had a home loan, and he said, I don't want debt. Well, it's a good statement to make, but then if you have a home loan running at 8%, then it's not a bad deal, because the rate of interest is very low on home loans these days, 7.5%, 8%. So why not? Because the other investment that you have is yielding you 12%. So net, you're gaining more return, you're gaining more money. But then no, he liquidated the other investment, which was giving him 12%, and he prepaid his loan. So that was just emotional, I thought, because he just wanted his loan from the bank to be zero, so that he has no EMI. But I felt that there was no need to rush it up, because he had his salary to pay the EMIs of the loan, and the other investment was anyway generating very good return. So one should be careful on not being emotional about it. Similarly, I've seen people getting emotional when they have investments in equity, for instance, right? A classic example, and we should talk about it, is what happened in the COVID. The lockdown happened on 21st of March. And I think almost certainly, we were aware, being in the industry, I'm sure some of you would be aware, that the stock markets would crash, because there was uncertainty and there was all sorts of news that what will happen, and the country will go through a downturn, big one, and what will happen. And therefore the stock market crashed to, I think, 25,000 level or so over a 15-day period or something like that, from a 40,000 level. Now people sold their mutual funds during that time at various levels. Now I fail to understand why people do that, because if you don't need money, then you will have to trust the market. They will bounce back. India as a country cannot be in a perpetual state of downturn or depression for years to come. No, it will happen for a year. Yes, of course. It will happen for a year and a half. Yes, but it has to bounce back, because obviously, money has to flow somewhere. Business will revive, business will come back, and the markets will come back. So yes, I see people, selling at that time when the market is crashing, as if, there's no tomorrow, and oh God, kya ho gaya? We have to get out the mutual funds, whatever is the cost. Let's book our losses. Fine, I bought something at 1 lakh rupee cost, and today it's 80,000 rupees. Let's cut. Let's just sell, and it's okay. I'm generating this loss of 20,000 rupees, but that's okay. Let me just exit the market. There's no need for panic because the markets will bounce back. There are enough examples in the past. 2008 was another example. You must have been very, very young, most of you. So yeah, that's when again a meltdown happened and the markets went down, but then again they bounced back. So you can imagine the Sensex or our index, which was 25,000, which dropped to 25,000 level in April or so, is back to 50K, 48K now, which is almost 100% jump in how many months? 9 months time. So that's how market bounce back. That's how fast they do that, and they always do that. So so invest in the equity markets through mutual funds if you don't understand equity directly, and hold your investment for a long period of time. That's critical. And you can read, you can see there are enough examples that the history will provide, a 25-year history will provide, or a 50-year history will provide, that the markets will always bounce back after a 1-year period, after a 2-year period, after a 3-year period. Just say invested, and then when they bounce back, they cover up all the losses, right? So let's say if my portfolio was a lakh of rupees in March, in April the value of that portfolio was 60,000 rupees. So I lost 40% in like 15 days time. But honestly, absolutely not panicked at that time, because I knew it will bounce back in a year's time. I did not need the money, so there was nothing to panic. It is now that same 1 lakh today is 140 or 120, whatever it is. So it bounced back, covered the losses up, and guess what? Gave more returns also. And today also I'm not kind of excited to pull it out of the market, since I don't need the money right now, right? So I don't have to pull it out, because the forecast is that the 50,000 level or so of Sensex today will be 1 lakh plus by 2030, in 10 years time, right? So it will be double in 10 years time again. So there's no need, and during these 10 years, when it goes from 50 to 1 lakh points, it will go up and go down, go up and go down. It will keep doing that before it reaches that 1 lakh point. So the idea is, if you're invested for this entire 10 years period, is when you are able to get the return, right? Or maybe 5 out of this 10 years period, because it will just keep going up. But if you try and time the market, if you try and see, let me just enter the market at right now 48,000 level and then exit at 55, that won't possible. That won't happen, most likely, because you're looking at short term. You're entering the market today, and maybe in 2 months time the Sensex is back to 45 because there's a COVID-2 wave. Who knows? Nobody knows. Or at 40,000. So you can't worry that where the market will go in 6 months or 8 months or 1 year time, because you have to invest for upwards of 3 years period, upwards of 5-year period. That's critical. So that was important for you guys, because like I said, you should have a huge risk appetite as you start to work, and you should be taking more exposure on the equity markets or equity mutual funds as you start to invest early. And these investments in equity markets give huge returns, and you can really create a very decent wealth over a period of time. You yourself will see. And the last point here is trying to time the market. That's something I've never done, because I really felt that one is I don't have the expertise. So I have not worked in equity markets, so to say, right? So I don't understand or I don't track share values of companies or things like that, right? So I'm just being very candid here that you don't have to have the knowledge of how the stock price is moving. You don't have to say that you're buying HDFC Bank shares today and selling them in 5 days time because they will give you a return of 20%. No, you can't do that. Some people do it for a living. That's fine, but then I don't think that's a very long-term strategy. Nobody can really time the market. Nobody knew COVID is coming. So somebody who did that mistake or invested heavily into stock market, when the COVID came, then really he had to, his investment got blocked because the market just tanked. So as a result, people don't know how the stocks will behave. People don't know, how market will turn in the short term. So therefore, trying to time the market, then मैं तो बिल्कुल lowest level पे enter करूँगा and highest level पे exit करूँगा, that doesn't work most of the time. So the idea is that invest for the long term, stay disciplined, maintain the amount you're investing every month, and try and keep increasing that amount as you get increments year after year. That's the only way to go about it. Okay, I'm just conscious of the time also. The last slide I have is the instruments that we have that we can look at. Means there can be many, many more instruments in the market. Things have become very complicated now also, and you can have more and more instruments in the market available. But I have kind of stuck to some basics, and I'll quickly run through the list. On the more fixed income debt side, you should look at a PPF, which is a post office instrument, which also gives you a tax advantage, tax benefit. That's one. You should seriously take care of your employee provident fund, because again, over a long period of time, that grows out to be a decent corpus. Again, a personal example. In my first job, when I left that first job after 2 years or 2.5 years, I withdrew my provident fund, which was probably whatever amount it was at that time. I withdrew that provident that amount, and I don't know what happened to that amount. I would have spent somewhere, or would have bought something. I can't even remember. But I'm saying the point is that the provident fund should not be used. If you can go without that money for a long period of time throughout your career, that serves as a very decent retirement saving corpus, for you. So try not to touch your employee provident fund. Now the process of the government is also very, very good, where you have a universal number. Earlier, we used to transfer it from one company to another as we change jobs. Today, there's no need for that, because you have a single EPF UAN number, universal account number, and that number remains same no matter which company you work with. So maintain that account, and because some money gets deducted from your salary, and the employer contributes the same amount into that account. So do not touch that account as you move from one company to another. Try not to withdraw those savings, because again, like we said, compounding return, they become a very, very large corpus over a period of 20 years, 15 years, as you're working. Thankfully, I did not withdraw my EPF after the first job. So second job onwards, I've kept kind of moving it, transferring it as I change jobs. And as a result, I get the benefit of EPF. Again, the returns are tax-free, and therefore it's very advantageous to have a good amount of money in this account. Try to use bank FDs as less as possible. It should only be your emergency fund, which you probably might need in case something uncertain happens in life, and otherwise bank FDs. Personally, in the first 5, 7, 10 years of my career, I had such limited money in my account, because I always used to invest or spend. Means there was no money to be kept in the account, no FDs, nothing. I had the advantage of not having much responsibility. My parents who were doing well, pensions and everything, so I did not have to contribute much. Some of you may have to, but otherwise I did not keep any money in my saving account at all. Going down the list, SIP, systematic investment plan, is absolutely your key to invest in mutual funds. Do that. Like I said, choose equity schemes because you're young. You can take a higher risk exposure. Choose equity schemes of good funds. There is no rocket science. You don't have to do too much research. Just pick any 3 and start your saving cycle, and you will learn as you go along. Direct equity, only if you have the knowledge. Try and dabble with them. Otherwise, there's no need. If you can, and a good strategy always is, if you're keen on shares, and some of you have interest, to read through Economic Times and all the financial newspapers to see how the companies are doing, and you want to invest in stocks directly. A good strategy would be to take a budget, let's say pick 10,000 rupees and say, I'm going to try with these 10,000 rupees for next 6 months time, and let me see whether I can generate any returns or not. Just look at those 10,000 rupees at the end of 6 months while you've bought shares, sold them, whatever you've done, and see whether you have the knack to invest in equity directly or not. If that 10,000 has become 1,000, understand that it's not your game. So just go back to mutual funds. But if that 10,000 really become 50,000, then maybe you should try and invest in stock directly in a more organized manner. Don't take so much chances. People also invest in gold, silver. We've spoken about real estate, very, very large investment. One should be careful. And lastly, insurance. You should have insurance as a part of your portfolio, where you definitely should have a health insurance for yourself and your family. That's important all the time, and I can't stress more. I've seen so many people spending their life savings on big hospital bills because they never had health insurance. And the term insurance, which is basically covering the family in case the breadwinner is no more. These two insurances are very, very important, and they should become part of the portfolio as soon as possible as you have those responsibilities. Health insurance, I think, from day one, because you really don't want anybody to foot the bill in case somebody falls sick, and one can fall sick anytime at any age. So one should take health. And both insurances, the problem is that sometimes in case the person becomes unwell, as in you get some lifestyle disease, then insurance companies don't issue these policies, they decline the cover. So that's why sooner you buy it in life, better it is. Otherwise, sometimes while people want to pay the premium and say we want health insurance, but just because they have some lifestyle ailments, the insurance companies are not keen to offer the cover to them. So that is a problem area. That's pretty much it. Yeah, that's all I had to share with you. More than happy to look at any queries, any questions that you may have, any other questions you may have. As your alumni, I'm very, very happy to kind of give my 2 cents. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dheeraj. Students can post their queries.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful event. Now, if you have any doubts, you can put them up in the chat box. Sir will answer them. Sir, shall we read the questions to you, or you will read them yourself from the chat box?
Completely up to you. I can read them too, no problem. Be faster.
Okay,
Zerodha
sir.
or Upstocks. I personally have an account with Zerodha. I find the product beautiful. I've not really checked Upstocks. Investing with no. You can't invest by taking loans, because when you take a loan, you're talking about a personal loan that should be available to you at an interest rate of 12 to 14%. How will you get that return? So it's too risky. Don't take a loan to invest. No. Okay, they've posted some questions already, they said. So I'm going to look at the chats, old chats. 1 second.
Many questions have been already posted in the chat box.
I'm just checking. So we are teenagers, we have saved our pocket money. So which type of investment you would recommend to us? So like I said, going ahead with having a mutual fund account for yourself, and I think each scheme will ask for at least 500 rupees per month kind of investment. So if you can afford that before you start working, that's a good way to start, because like I said, when you start doing it, you start reading about it, about the returns, about what is the NAV value and what are so that will just help you get more knowledge and prepare yourself more when you have larger money to invest as you start working. What do you mean by this? We should not sell when market crashes and wait for the market to regain its track. So exactly what you said. When the market crashes, typically the value of your fund goes down, right? Like I said, the value of my fund in March was 1 lakh rupee, right? The market crashed and my fund value became 60,000 rupees because it's connected with the stock price of the companies where the fund is investing in. So it became 50,000 rupees because the company's stock's price went down because of the uncertainty in the market due to COVID. And therefore, if I had sold my mutual fund at that time, I would have got a loss of 40,000 rupees. But I did not do that, and therefore the market revived again from March till now. And as a result, my stock price is back to, or my fund value is back to 1 lakh plus. and therefore I did not, by not selling, I did not get that loss, is what I meant. Sir, please tell us the procedure to invest in index funds. You can go talk. All of you must have a bank account, first of all. If you do have, talk to the personal banker in your bank. He will tell you everything. I think for the paucity of time, I will not. Otherwise, but it's just, you can just go to the bank and they will tell you exactly how to open a Demat account, and they will tell you how to do that. I think the best time to invest in share market is at the point of crash, as it will come back with the great number. Absolutely. But this also means that you're trying to time the market. But you're right, absolutely. When the market crashes, I think that it's an opportunity for people to invest, whereas people start to sell. That's the difference. So I agree completely. When the market crash, you should invest some amount, not all, but then yes, some amount. You do find those opportunities there. So while working in the banking sector, I knew certain banks. Let's say HDFC Bank, their stock crashed completely in March. While I knew it will come back, it's the best bank in the country, and it is back now with 9 months' time. So if somebody has invested money in that, there'll be a 60% return in the same year, no doubt about that. Okay, sir, in your view, what is the least period of long term for teenagers? Because teenagers are so impatient. That's why the session was for. Don't be impatient. And which one is better for us to invest in, mutual fund or stock market? Mutual funds, like I said, stock market, you should get some insights first. It's a very it's very scientific. You have to keep track of it on a very regular basis. Like I said, I have never done that personally because I don't have time, simply because I can't track it. I do something else for a living. So I can't track it on a daily basis. And if I can't track it, then I should not be investing directly. So I trust mutual funds because mutual funds have got fund managers whose job is to track the market and invest money. So I believe that he'll do a much better job than me, because one is he's more intelligent in stock market than me. And secondly, he does it for a living. He does that day in and day out. So yeah, that's what I feel mutual funds. But there is no least period of long term. It's a wrong question, right? Long term means long term. Long term means more than 3 years. That's what it is. People of our age are mostly more interested in direct equity, and we know the need to invest. So I personally feel that it's a threat for the mutual fund industry because upcoming generation might prefer to invest directly instead of buying funds. Can you please share your opinion on the future? Very bright future of mutual fund industry. See, the market is very large. Market is very large for everyone to survive. Mutual fund industry is globally very large and account for India. In fact, the penetration is very low. Not many people invest in even mutual fund, leave aside stock market. So people are worried about investing in mutual fund because they further invest in equity market. So leave aside investing directly in the stock market. People are concerned about, So don't worry about the mutual funds industry future. It's very bright and they're only getting more and more money as the months are passing by. So very bright future, no problem at all. I'm under 18 and want to learn stock market, but requires a PAN card to open Demat account. Can I trade using my parents' name and PAN card? Well, it's a parents' account. So I think ask them. I don't know exactly if you can or cannot, but yeah, means if they are doing it, then maybe do it along with them. That's how I'll say it. I think if you want to minimize your risk, if you don't have knowledge about market, then you should go for mutual funds. Yes, I completely agree. SIPs is the way to go. It should be part of your portfolio for sure. So most of you are asking about same mutual funds as stock market. So people who are keen on stock market, I just want to ask them, what is your expertise in picking up the right stocks? That's very important, right? So if you think you have the expertise, which means that you probably have done some course or you've read a lot and you know a bit, then only jump into it. And like I mentioned, a good strategy, there should be a mute, I think. And a good strategy can be by keeping a budget aside. So for example, you have put aside 10,000 rupees for 3 months, 6 months time, which you will invest in stock market and see how the returns come. That will give you a lot of learning, so that you are, even if you make mistakes, then there is a certain limit to your loss that you are incurring. So just do that and then take a conscious call that whether you can do it or cannot do it. But if you've not really had any experience on doing some courses around capital markets, on how the price earning ratios or basic things that the metrics that you should check before investing in a company, then I think do a lot of reading before you get into that stuff. So from that perspective, mutual funds are good. But if some of you have had huge interest and they've been reading over the last couple of years about capital markets, be my guest and start with a small amount and see how you do. Zerodha or angel investing, all are good. As in, you can, they're just a route for you to invest. They're all good. Zerodha, the product is good. As an online product is good. So I do it with them. Otherwise, angel broking is also good. So all broking are good. There's no problem. It's just a route. How do you? That just helps you to invest. Okay, I think that Edelweiss Limited is a question mark. I don't know what is the question. Do you mean Edelweiss as a mutual fund or company? I don't know. So we already posted some questions. How to invest in stocks with companies from all over the world and not just India. There are mutual funds now that help you invest, let's say in US tech sector and stuff like that. I have not done that till now personally, but I've come to know that they are good and one should have that exposure. So it's through mutual funds only that you can do that. Index funds are good. Basically, it means that they will just shadow the market completely. I'm not a huge fan. I think diversified equity funds are good. Again, not giving any advice here. Whatever works for you guys, just go ahead. But yeah, the diversified equity fund, large cap blue chip funds are good for lots and lots. ICICI, HDFC, Franklin. You should look at those. Do we have an option to pay brokerage all at once for the whole year in many of the brokerage companies? I don't know. I am not sure about this, so I'm not going to answer. You need to check. When they say what is better, invest for short term or long term, always go for the long term. I mean, to say short term, like I said, even if you invest for short term, take your money. What do you do with that money? There is no short term. You want to create wealth, go for the long term. Is how you be able to see substantial money. So always think long term. I think that will help. Why do I withdraw money? I don't need money. If I withdraw my portfolio or my portfolio, there is no better place to invest. Where do you invest? So that's the reason I'm not really done that. Yeah, somebody said IDFC mutual fund allows us to start even with 100 rupees. Great, please do that. So that's fantastic. That's not 500; it's actually 100 rupees. So that helps you to really invest out of your pocket money also, and it gives you a lot of financial discipline, financial knowledge as you start to track, look at them, and look at their returns. How to pick good share for long term in stock market? Nobody knows. I think nobody knows. Otherwise, it was an easy thing to give. It is. You need to track the market very, very closely. I think to do that, there are obviously some stocks which are considered blue chip, and they are very, very large, big, nice companies. And people say that. Again, I'm not really started that practice, but people say things like TCS, HDFC. You buy them and you keep them because they will grow over the long period of time. So that's the only stock that you can. Can you be on mute, guys? If somebody's not on mute. Those are the 2-3 stocks that you can invest by not putting too much brain. Otherwise, it is a very engaging exercise to be in the stock market, indirect stocks. How to select in between different companies while investing in mutual funds? No, mutual funds are, there are different schemes which are there, and they have different objectives. So when you're starting off, then you should look at typical diversified blue chip scheme that will help you. Otherwise, then there are When you get deeper into it and you have more investment, then you can look at thematic stocks, which will invest in a certain industry, like a banking industry, like a pharma industry, which are very sector-specific funds. So that you can get deeper as you get more and more experience with the initial setup. But right initially, just go for the more diversified blue chip schemes of various fund houses, because that will invest in everything, all sectors which are doing well. Yeah, if you want to invest in stock market, you can do a basic course, BSc, and if somebody is saying that a BSc or NSc course, it is good. You can do that. It's a good starting point. Just tells you the kind of subject it is and knowledge you should have. Please name an instrument which is sure zero loss. Well, the post office savings and stuff like that. There is nothing which is connected to the market which is sure zero loss. No, it is not. So your post office savings, your FDs, are the stuff which doesn't assure you zero loss. But you shouldn't be thinking like that. Tell you my portfolio. Like I said, means the things that I noted down, I typically have my debt in, let's say, PPF, and I give a lot of weightage to employee provident fund because that gives a very decent tax-free return, and the returns haven't gone down and in provident fund and won't go down that fast as compared to other instruments. So provident fund, I think last year gave a return of 8.5%. Employee provident fund, EPF, and which is very decent, which is for a tax-free return. And there is something called a voluntary provident fund also. So as a practice, throughout my career, I've also contributed an additional component of my salary into voluntary provident fund. So it's allowed by the government, wherein there's a certain amount that the employer will deduct from your salary for provident fund. There's that same amount he will also contribute. The employer will contribute, giving you that a certain amount for the month in provident fund. You can also say that please take away this much money from my salary and add it to the EPF, which is the voluntary provident fund. So that increases your share into the EPF account, and over a period of time that becomes larger. So that's something I've relied on in my career. That's one. And mutual funds, SIPs, is something I heavily rely on. That I'll advise you also, and that has really helped me because when I bought my house, I did some prepayment using selling some of my mutual funds when the market was at a high, because I wanted that money to as a prepayment for my house, and I did that. And I would have invested throughout this tenure. So I started investing maybe in 2003-04. The markets crashed in 2008, subprime crisis. I kept investing, I did not withdraw. I kept investing the same pace. I think whatever I was doing at that time, 20-30K, I kept investing the same pace. And as a result, when the market bounced back in 2012, 13, 14, it was a very decent return on the same money, which helped me do a prepay of my loan when the interest rates were high for home loan. And as a result, I would say that, I created an asset, which is my home where I live, out of my mutual fund investments. So those are the 3-4 things that I use. In my portfolio, I don't invest in gold too much, or almost nothing, zero. I don't like, yellow metal, as in I've never tracked it, but people do that. So yes, that's my portfolio. Can we move to passive income? I don't know. Passive income, what is that?
So I think people are posting a lot of queries, and we have actually less time. So thank you, sir, for answering all the queries. Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative event. And now we would like to invite Ms. Sangeeta Relan, co-convener of Bodhini, to show gratitude and give a vote of thanks to Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, sir.
Thank you, Niharika. We would now like to present our guest, Mr. Dheeraj Kalra, with a memento to express our gratitude to him for being with us today and enlightening us with his words of wisdom. Dheeraj, a memento for you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Really appreciate. Thank you very much, as always.
All right. So, well, for the formal vote of thanks. So, in all the years that I have been teaching, I must have extended a vote of thanks to several people, several times, who've come to our college on various occasions. And every time that I have done that, it has always been about gratitude, recognition, and appreciation for the effort made by the guest. Today, it is all that, but it is a bit more. Today, along with gratitude, recognition, and appreciation, there are several emotions. There is a sense of pride. There is absolute delight, a lot of satisfaction, and a sense of ownership. When you see someone who was a student of yours, when you see someone in whose life you played a small part, even though it may have been a very small one, you see him having risen to such a position, a stature where he can come back to his alma mater and share his words of wisdom, you cannot help but feel proud. Very, very proud. Dheeraj, it gives me an immense amount of pleasure to see where you reached today, the position that you've acquired, the stature that you've acquired. Yours was one of those early batches with whom I had a very close association, still do. And I remember, of course, the in-class interactions, the after-class interactions, your wanting to rush to the gym, your passion for hockey, your set of friends, and that light-hearted banter that we used to engage in outside of the class. Well, it's all etched in my mind, and I remember all of those things very well. And of course, we are still in touch, which makes the association even more special. But of course, now coming to the formal part of this. So on behalf of Bodhini, the Academic Events and Research Committee of the Commerce Department of Acharya Narendra Dev College, I would like to thank you, Dheeraj, for having come back to us, to your college, and connected with us once again. It was indeed a pleasure to listen to your words of wisdom on such a relevant topic, and I cannot help but marvel at the simplistic way in which you shared your words, your knowledge with us, the tips that you gave, the myths that you spoke about, the mistakes that people do. It was all presented in a very, very simplistic and easy to understand manner. And I'm sure our students and faculty alike would have gained a lot from this. So here's wishing you all the best for all your future endeavors and hoping to see you more often. And if I may add, it was good to be on the other side of the table. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Really appreciate. Yes, absolutely special for me also to be on this platform, like I said. And yes, for once giving you you listening my lecture.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind gesture. Sir, it was really a great honor to have you among us today. Thank you for such an informative session. We would also like to thank the entire organizing committee once again for such a wonderful event. Faculty members, Dr. Surinder Kaur, convener, Ms. Sangeeta Rilan, co-convener, Ms. Rupali Pabreja, Dr. Shalu Mahajan, Dr. Jitendra Goyal, CA Yask Sen, Mr. Ankit Singh, Ms. Deepika, and also the other core committee of the students and the student coordinators. The link of the feedback form is now available in the chat box. Please everyone fill it as soon as possible because you will be getting the e-certificate only after filling it.
Can we
And
all
all-
put on our and take our snap and do the honor?
Shalu, what are you saying?
I think take a snap. अपना camera switch on कर लेते हैं and
Okay. All right.
And I will talk a little more on my interaction with just 2 minutes.
You're not really audible, Shalu. What are you saying?
I'm saying I would like to talk to Dheeraj regarding Edumini. I want to extend our association further. So I would like to talk for 2 minutes with him after we have done this photo session of ours,
Okay, fine.
We want to switch on their cameras and we can take a photograph. Jitendra, I hope you are doing it. You're doing the needful.
Just wait what a minute, ma'am.
Okay. Even Even you need to switch on your camera. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So, Dheeraj is here with us.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Dheeraj, Sangeeta ma'am is very actively involved in, having linkages with the alumni of this college, and she'll soon come up with, coffee book of table also for the alumni. One thing I would like is, can we? I'm initiating with the process of creating a database. So your batch must be having somewhere around 25-30 students, I guess. So are you in touch with them? Any one of them, or
At least one of them for sure. As in, we will. So one of my dear friends is from the same batch, my class. So Deepak is there, and we both should know. We'll be able to connect with at least 4-5 more people. Yes.
okay, so we are in a process of creating a database, and then through that database, we are planning for a mega virtual your alumni meet.
Sure.
So across nations, जहाँ पे भी students हैं, so virtual commerce department के लिए exclusively. So
Yeah.
since you're on, so I thought I should talk to you directly, and if possible, you can pass on those phone numbers and contact numbers with Sangeeta ma'am, and we can connect with you.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. We can do that.
Grows, and we'll like to meet you in person. Though I joined after you left, so still I would like to meet you.
Sure, ma'am. Absolutely. Pleasure is mine. Yes.
Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your participation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Soon we will be publishing the semi-annual newsletter of our Commerce Department named as The Chronicles, which is prepared by Team Bodhini. So please stay tuned for that.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope that you found this event very useful. Please don't forget to fill the feedback form, whose link is available in the chat box. You will be provided with the certificate of participation only after filling this form.
All right.
Thanks
Okay,
to one and all again for gracing us with your presence. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.